last week on the Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome him to the show. Tony Javier, what's up, baby?
What is up, Al? Dude, bringing the energy, man. It's easy to smile when I'm around you. How do I market smarter? How do I get people calling me instead of me having to reach out to them? That's kind of how the TV thing started. I just love talking about TV because I feel like it's one of those things where people still think it's a branding play. People think their business isn't big enough for it. They think it's way too expensive. And also the big misnomer that people think is that everything's gone to streaming.
How do you get TV to get motivated sellers to find people?
If you look at the data for our demographic, which is older people with houses that are less expensive, they're still watching 2.5 hours of TV every single day.
You put 3,000 in and then you made the 30,000 and you're like, well, I just 10x my money right there. How important is the messaging in that 30-second commercial?
You can get a decent amount in the 30 seconds if you do it right. The thing that a lot of marketers get wrong, they have these great messages, then they miss something. They either miss putting a call to action. They didn't have a phone number. A lot of people like to talk about themselves and how they've been in business so long and all these things. People don't care about that, but what's in it for them, right? What are you going to be able to do for them?
We could talk about TV for hours, but you also are an entrepreneur. This is your business. What would you say are some of the most efficient ways you can scale your business?
How can I do things easier, smarter, and faster? Like your first hire is the most important because you're basically doubling your staff, you and another person, and you guys are the culture. So if you can get that first hire right and they can duplicate what you're doing, it just becomes easier to go find other people to continue to do the same thing.
Well, Tony, it's been a blast being on this episode with you.
If you guys are not following Al and you're just hearing this for the first time, you guys need to listen to him because he's just full of passion, full of energy, and just love everything that he does. So appreciate you, man.
Means a lot, man. Thank you so much, Tony. Wow, what a great episode that was with Tony Javier. If you missed any of that episode last week on the Al Nicoletti Show, go back, check that out. You know, every time I see Tony at Family Mastermind, it is always great chatting with him because he is a wealth of knowledge with that world in TV ads. And I'm hearing just so many investors having great success with that recently. So go back, check that out. And of course, you can catch all the content on the Al Nicoletti Show. Go back, go on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, tons of content. And you'll find all the guests that have been on the show from season 1 through season 5. And you don't want to miss it out there on your favorite podcasting form. And of course, for those people that are listening on iTunes and Spotify, don't forget, we're video. So don't forget to check that out. All right, everybody, here we are. The season finale, season 5 finale. Can you believe it's already here? It came like in a flash. And here we are. And I got to say, the last couple weeks, the episodes have been amazing with the guests. And a couple things just to recap. What a great time I had emceeing the Jaxria trade show in Jacksonville. Had a blast with everybody there. Great speakers, Tyler Austin, Nicole Espinosa, just to name a few, April Giuliano, Mark Monroe. I mean, people that have been on the Al Nicoletti Show, tons of value dropped. I had a great time. And shout out to Jaxria, shout out to Marketing Bull Media for the invites out there. We loved it. It was a blast. Mike behind the screen right there. I got to say, here we are. And tonight, we got the season finale. First of all, before I introduce Alex, I had to think about, like, what did we want for the season finale? And I don't think at any point this year that I can think of, we had anybody talk about the commercial industry or get into the industrial industry. I mean, we had on a couple of seasons ago, we had Neil Timmons talk about it, but we haven't had anybody talk about like self-storage units. And I keep seeing people all over Instagram and Facebook talking about how they're acquiring these things. Like, shout out to Henry Angeli out there. I hope Henry's listening. Henry's killing it right now, picking up these deals with self-storage, and he loves it because they cash flow. Even Alex Quesada. Shout out to Alex Quesada that's been getting into this game. And I saw Alex Pardo recently at Family Mastermind. I'm thinking this guy has a wealth of knowledge with self-storage. And not even just that, he's an entrepreneur. He got out of wholesaling and he's created a perfect work-life balance for himself. Every time I talk to him, he's somewhere else. So I really wanted to bring a special guest on, and that's why I love this guest for the season finale. And, here we are, and let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody, my name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and we will always provide the best guests in the game to you. Our goal on the Al Nicoletti Show for the team is to always bring the guests that can provide the nuggets to you, the value to you, the information, so that you all can level up, so that we can grow, not just on a real estate end, on a business end, on a personal end. We all want to level up in our business on how you can take your company to the next level. On my show today, on the season finale, for those that are listening out there, season finale. I didn't even hop into the link yet. This is why I love being live. Like, for anybody that knows, I love being live, because a live show, it's always a blast. It's raw, and we get all these emotions on it, and so it's a lot of fun. But on the show today, I got Alex Pardo talking all about getting into self-storage, how that journey has been for him, getting out of wholesaling, going to self-storage, and creating the ultimate life for himself, and really getting that passive cash income. So without further ado, let's welcome Alex to the show. My guy, Alex, what's up?
Oh, brother, the energy you bring, you got me pumped, ready to like run through a wall, man. So I'm excited to be here, dude. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, brother. That seems to be the theme lately, that I've been on some calls, and people are like, oh man, I don't know if the deal's going to happen. And I'm just like, I feel like the coach, right? I'm just like, get in there and go do it. And everybody's ready to bolt right through the screen. Great. Happy to have you on here, man. It's great seeing you again. Love seeing you at Family Mastermind. And even the times that we've been able to connect. Hey, before we even jump in, I was even excited for you when I hopped on the call the other day. Tell everybody, where did you just come from? That was an amazing story.
Yeah, man. I had the opportunity to serve. We partnered with a nonprofit called bluemissions.org that provides clean water to people in impoverished communities in the Dominican Republic. So it was a trip with many layers, because we had the opportunity to hike the tallest mountain in the Dominican Republic, Pico Duarte, which is 10,000 and change feet. And it was a 28.6 mile hike, which we did over 3 days. So it was very physically, mentally challenging. But the best part, man, is we had the opportunity to go to these communities and see how the water has changed these people's lives. Like things that we tend to take for granted, like I can just grab a bottle of water anytime I want. These people don't have that ability until Blue Missions came along to build these water projects. So, man, filled with gratitude, appreciation, and yeah, man, I'm just very, very grateful for everything God has done in my life.
Beautiful. And even when we talked before family, you were like, hey, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going to the Keys, I'm traveling all around. I mean, that's the ultimate lifestyle, right? You're not in the office, you're enjoying time with your family, and you've been able to achieve that through all the pains and the ups, the downs, and being able to realize what industry did you want to be in, so that you can have this life. So you can say, hey, I just got back, I'm refreshed, I feel good. This is what everybody should be doing. So tell everybody about your journey from wholesaling and exiting out of wholesaling, because there's a lot of people that listen to the show, that watch the show, that love doing the wholesaling. I mean, wholesaling, it's a game for a lot of people. But how did you transition out of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. The irony is, when I got into real estate in 2005, I did it specifically because I wanted cash flow. And ultimately, it wasn't necessarily about the money, but it was what the money could do for me, my family, and for others. So ultimately, I wanted time freedom. I really find out that when you boil it down and strip the layers of the onion, what people want, they want options to do the things they want to do with loved ones, to travel, impact, provide. Like that's what really drove me. And ironically, when I got into real estate, I got into wholesaling. And if I'm being honest, I got addicted to the revenue and the income that you generate from wholesaling. So wholesaling is a fantastic business to generate cash. The big mistake that I made, brother, was I wasn't taking that active earned income and putting it into cash flowing producing assets. It took me 12 years before I remember looking at my wife and saying, I'm kind of tired of starting the month from scratch, right? And I would have these boom 6-figure months, And it might be followed with a month where we don't close any deals. And I was riding this income roller coaster. And I told my wife, I said, something has to change. So we started buying rental properties. And I felt that building a single family rental portfolio was going to be my path to cash flow and ultimately time freedom. And then I got to about 4 or 5 properties and I'm like, there's nothing passive about this, at least not the way that I was managing it. And so over the course of several years, I started to sell off some of those rentals. And I was super blessed and fortunate, brother, that I have invested in myself a lot throughout the years. I've led mastermind communities. I've been a part of numerous mastermind communities. That's how you and I met. It's all in the relationships. And I happened to be coaching somebody who owned a storage facility. And when you coach somebody, you get the inside look, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I saw that he had cash flow, he had time freedom, and he didn't have the headaches of tenants, toilets, and trash. And so I'll kind of pause there, but that's what really like whet my appetite about looking further into the storage asset class.
Yeah, and you're not dealing, you're not dealing with the tenants. You're not dealing with people that are just staying in there. You're dealing with people that need to store things in those units, and at a different price point, right? And you have a lot more units than just a couple doors. Like you have 100 doors.
That's right. You have the economies of scale. So when I had a small rental portfolio, I had 5 tax bills and 5 utility bills and 5 insurance, and a roof would, I'd have to replace a roof or a furnace would go out, and then my cash flow for the year was gone. When it comes to storage, one of the things that really attracted me to the asset class was that when I researched it, it's a very recession resistant asset class. So whether we're in a great economy or we're in an uncertain economy, people tend to, when they rent storage, they stay long term. So, this might surprise you, brother, but the average length of stay for our customers at our storage facilities is just over 3 years. And you kind of touched on it. Like, think about what it costs to rent a storage unit, anywhere typically between $50 and $350. That's not going to make or break most people. And when you think about, like, if you and I were going to rent a 10 by 20 and we move all our stuff in there, think about the pain of disconnect to get our stuff out. Like, you need a pickup truck, or you got to get a U-Haul. You got to like bother your friends and family and spend an entire weekend. So oftentimes people will say, like, I don't even know what's in there, but I've been paying for years because it's just too much of a pain in the butt to like get my stuff out of there. So it's what I call a very sticky product.
Got it. And I think for a lot of people that want to get into this, I mean, we can jump to this. Where do you even find these kind of deals, right? Because, if somebody's going to stop their wholesaling business or just kind of like scale it down a little bit so that they can focus on something like this, they're thinking, okay, great. Like, I hear what Alex is talking about. I hear that, there's this big opportunity. But if I'm just starting out in this, how do you even go about locating this? And then I guess take it one step further, being able to analyze if this is the kind of deal that you would want to even contemplate, maybe numbers wise.
Yeah, such a good question. Let me start with the first part. One of the things I wish I knew 4 years ago when I transitioned from wholesaling over into storage is that the skill sets, Al, that we acquire as single family investors, every single one of those skill sets translates over into storage. So I'll give you an example: marketing and lead generation. When I ran my wholesaling operation, we did direct mail and text message and cold calling and like bandit signs and everything you can name under the sun. Every single storage deal that I've purchased has been through direct mail, cold calling, and relationships. Like, those are my 3 primary lead generators when it comes to storage. So I don't want people watching this show thinking I got to do what Alex did and I got to shut down my single family business in order to pursue this. This can be done part-time with a few little tweaks, right? So it's just shifting the focus of like where you're marketing. Instead of marketing to a tax delinquent list or the water shutoff list, I have a virtual assistant for free, which we could talk about now. Build a list using Google of mom and pop storage facilities, and we deploy the same exact marketing. The only difference I find between single family and storage is how you evaluate the deal, right? What we call the underwriting or the deal analysis. And we have a very simple, like, back of the napkin analysis and way to determine, like, is the deal even worth going a little bit further? So that's one thing I really want people to understand, is that you don't need to like shut down your single family business. I truly believe that storage is not a shiny object. Unlike different opportunities out there, it just takes a few tweaks and knowing how to find these. So I think one of the questions you asked was like, how do you even go out and locate these? Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like if somebody's saying, "Hey, you know," I go back to some of the examples that we had with like Brent Bowers being on the show. Like he shared the screen and he said, "Hey, if we go into this market, let's zoom in on the map. This is what we're looking for. You know, let's focus in metro areas, or if you want to go to an off market, let's go to an ancillary market, you know, tertiary, and let's focus. You know, zoom in on there." Where are you going to find these? Like, is it in the metros? Is it in the off areas? Are they the mom and pops? Are they the industrial areas? Like how do you locate that?
Well, I'll tell you what, let me answer the question, but I'll throw this out there if you want. I'm happy to share my screen live and show you specifically what I look for. So we can do that if you'd like. Okay, sweet. I'm going to share
I told you, I got all the time for you, baby. Let's go.
I love it. We'll rock and roll. So before I share my screen and kind of show this live, by the way, Al, I'm going to ask you to come up with a random city anywhere in the country. Doesn't matter what city. So start thinking about, but here's what I'm going to kind of clue you in on. I don't look for storage in big metropolitan cities like where I live in Miami. So I've been in storage 4 years. I've never spent 1 minute looking for storage here in Miami. Why? Big metropolitan cities, generally speaking, are run and dominated by the REITs, the real estate investment trust, that own the public storages of the world, Extra Space, CubeSmart. Those are not the types of facilities that we're going after. We are going after mom and pop operated facilities in secondary or rural markets. So think of markets in cities that have anywhere a population between 1,000 and let's just say 60,000 people as a starting point. Right. So I own a facility in Amelia Island, Florida, which is 45 minutes north of Jacksonville. Amelia Island has a population of about 37,000 people. Right. So those are the types of markets that we're going after. And then there's two other things that just at a sniff test, I like to be in markets where the population has been increasing over time. And I like to be in markets where the median household income is 50,000 or greater. So keep that in mind. With that being said, let me share my screen with you.
I'm thinking of a lot of cities right now. I'm just like, if I throw this out, I wonder if he's going to like it.
Oh, honestly, it doesn't matter because I'm pretty confident I'll be able to show you some key things that we look for. Now, the only thing I'll ask is don't give me like Vegas, Los Angeles.
No, don't worry. No, we're
all right,
good.
Sweet. So let me do this. Share screen. All right. I'm not super techie, but you let me know if we can. You let me know if we can make this happen here. Okay. So tell me what you're seeing right now. Entire screen. Okay, here we go. All right. You should be able to see my screen any second now.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
All right. Are you seeing Google?
Google.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to maps.google.com, or if you just Google Maps. So Al, give me a city anywhere in the country.
I was thinking Boise.
Boise, Idaho, right? Okay. Boise. Okay. Here's Boise.
Population.
All right. So check this out. So you should see Boise, Idaho on my Google Maps. Is that right?
There. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sweet. So you see this button right here that says nearby. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to type in self-storage. Now, what this is going to do, Al, is you're going to start seeing a bunch of red dots on the right-hand side of the screen. This is called the Google Map Pack. So these are the storage facilities that Google is picking up and identifying. Now, along the left-hand side, you're going to see the results of all these different storage facilities. So right off the bat, I knew it. So you see Idaho Self-Storage in 9th Street. You see how it says website here?
Yes. Yes.
Look at the two right below it. You don't see that circle because they don't have websites. Now, let me put this in perspective. More than 70% of our customers come from some type of online. So whether that's search engine optimization, pay-per-click marketing. So having a website, as basic as that sounds, is pretty important to a storage business. This is a strong indicator that it is a mom and pop run storage facility that doesn't even have a website. So that's like the equivalent of you and I driving through a neighborhood and seeing a house that has boarded up windows.
Right.
Not necessarily that the facility is like vacant per se, but that the owner is not fully treating it like a business and not optimizing simple things like having a website, right? So that's the first thing I look at. The second thing I look at is, let me see if I can scroll down here and find a good example. Look at Storage Cubbies Boise. They only have 3 Google reviews. So anytime I see anything less than 15, 20 reviews, like Falcon Storage 2 reviews, that tells me they don't understand the importance of Google reviews for their storage facility. So those are a couple things that are cluing me in. And then if I ever see anything less than 4.5 stars, like let me scroll down here and see if I can find one really quickly. I see a bunch of 4.6. It's actually a decent market in terms of like, we'll look at this one. Y Space, they're at 4.5. Actually, the one below it, 3.9. These are strong indicators that there's some warning signs. Like for some reason, customers are not happy here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a 3.9 stars. Mm-hmm. Well, these are things that we have trained our virtual assistant to just identify in different markets in the country and start building what we call our top 1,000 list, right? These are storage facilities that we're pretty confident are mom and pop run and operated, that there could be some opportunity there. The other thing that we like to do here is, let me see if I can just go to a random facility and click on their website. So we'll go to Storage Cubbies Boise. All right. So this is actually not a bad looking website. This looks like an easy storage solution site. I like to click on the contact us section. Anytime that we see at Gmail, at Hotmail, at Yahoo, anything like that, it's a pretty strong indication that it's a mom and pop run operated facility. So those are just a few quick and easy ways that anybody can jump on Google Maps, go to any city in the country and look for those key identifiers. No website, little to no Google reviews, poor Google reviews. And sometimes you're going to come across facilities that have a website that looks like it was built in like 1998.
Right.
Those are all opportunities.
So let me ask you that. Well, let's start at the websites real quick. Wow.
Okay.
Let's in-depth, never-ending stream. So if you go, if you look at that list,
yep.
What's to say that the ones with websites couldn't be opportunities as well? Like, are you having a VA get in touch with or try to call all of these, or are you just literally just trying to get very niche down with the no websites, the Google reviews?
Such a good question. We literally have the VA put every single one of these storage facilities on our list, but one of our columns is, do they have a website? Y or N? Yes or no? And oftentimes we will sort by that column to like do a hyper-focused campaign on the ones that don't have a website. But no, the only facilities that we do not put on the list is, and I saw a few of them, public storage, that does not hit our list, right? I think I saw Extra Space in here, right? So like the big box Class A facilities where you and I would probably like to store our stuff, those are the only facilities that are not hitting our list.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
And so now let's just say you find one that you like that have no website, the Google reviews are less than 5. What's your best marketing outreach to the people? Is it the call? Is it direct mail? Is it you going in person? Or having somebody on the ground there? Like how do you even get their attention?
Yeah, all the above. So here's what I would say. If I happen to live in Boise, right, and I was looking for storage in Boise, I would 1000% drive and go meet them, because nothing replaces meeting somebody face to face, shaking their hand and starting to build a relationship. So 1000%. In fact, I had a coaching client who was on a hunting trip. I shared with him that very thing. On the hunting trip, he drives by storage facilities all the time. Prior to working with me, I told him, every time you see a storage facility, if possible, stop in. And if you can't, pick up the phone and call. Sure enough, he stopped in. He met the owner. It was a mom and pop owner. He ended up buying that facility about 2.5, 3 months later. And that came from just stopping in and building a relationship. Now, in my case, since I'm not looking for storage in Miami and I'm looking in different parts of the country, I don't have that ability. I'm not going to hop on a flight to go meet people. So I just pick up the phone. And when I call people, Al, this is super key, I think. what are people's jobs when they get a cold call? Like if you're anything like me, I'm trying to get off the phone as quickly as possible and politely. In some cases, people are not so polite. So when I call, I identify who I am, why I'm calling. I identify that this is a random call and that I'm not going to take much of their time. But I tell them, when I first started, I say, look, my wife and I are looking to purchase our first storage facility, and I will compliment them about their facility. I said, hey, I came across your facility on Google Maps. Looks like you've done a great job with it. It's super nice. I'll usually reference that they're across the street from a McDonald's or whatever. And I don't ask them if they're interested in selling because they don't know me from Adam. And that seems like that's a process. Like you don't just say, yeah, I'm interested in selling. There's a lot of information that needs to be collected. So what I do is I ask them, I say, hey, Al, do you mind? I'm looking to learn from a seasoned investor, somebody who knows the storage business. You mind if I just ask you a question or two about how you got started? 9 out of 10 times I have found, unless you catch them at a bad time, that people are very open to sharing and lending a helping hand. Now, when I get into that conversation and I'm just building a relationship with them, at some point, I'm going to ask them, listen, clearly, you know what you're doing. You probably have a lot of contacts in the storage industry. Do you know anybody who has a facility that might consider selling? Now, what I have found that question does sometimes is inject a little bit of scarcity. And what I would say that I get 40% of the time is they'll say, well, I might consider selling. And then now, boom, now you've entered into a different part of the conversation. But worst case scenario, you're building a relationship with them and they're either going to give you a referral, they're not, or they're going to tell you that they might be interested in selling. So it's a very simple conversation. After having talked to probably thousands of homeowners and motivated sellers throughout the years, I can tell you with certainty, Al, that the conversation that you have with a storage owner is so much easier, in my opinion, than the conversation with the motivated seller. Why? That storage owner is not emotionally attached to that asset like a single family homeowner might be.
Right.
And more times than not, I find that the reason they would consider selling is not so much because there's financial distress or physical distress, but oftentimes they're just getting ready to retire. They've been owning the facility for 20, 30 years, and they're just done. They want to move on.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think Tom Berry even talked about how it's a different kind of asset class when you're dealing with he got into shopping centers and commercial or all those other asset classes versus residential. And so it's just a totally different dialogue with people. So Alex, I feel like I'm just kind of walking through A to Z on a deal, right? And now let's just say you've built that relationship. You finally get in touch with somebody that's really interested in what you're offering. What does that deal structure look like in terms of a contract? Is it more on a financing deal with them, or what does that look like contract wise?
Yeah. So
like a single family versus single family.
Right. So I've closed deals many different ways. Number one is I'm always listening for what the seller's looking for. And then I am figuring out if and how I can structure a deal to meet the seller's needs. Right. So my very first deal, Al, I purchased through SBA financing. So I had the Small Business Administration give me a loan for 85% of the purchase price. And then I brought in an equity partner, somebody that funded the 15% that we needed. So I was able to get involved in that deal, which, by the way, we just sold. When was it? October 31st. Wow. So I bought that facility in 21 for 1.592, and I sold it for 2.495, literally less than a month ago. And so that was it. Thank you, man. Thank you. So that was a deal we were able to get involved in without using any money. So these things can be structured with seller financing, right? Which I used in single family. There's another skill that I learned in single family that works. It works on any asset class. It works with a house. It works with a storage facility. I'm literally talking about seller financing on buying a Facebook group. I kid you not. Seller financing can be used on anything. Yeah. The last deal that I purchased, which I also sold, when was it? September 4th of this year. That was 100% of it was raised by private money. right? So equity partnerships, private money, seller financing, and then you have, of course, traditional bank financing. Typically, banks are going to require anywhere between 20 and 30% down, and then they'll provide the difference. 70 to 80% is what they're going to finance. The key is to look for small local community banks in these markets. They have an appetite for storage, and oftentimes you can get pretty good terms.
Very cool. And in terms of, okay, so going past the contract phase and the lending phase, now you get the deal, you close. I guess it's happening at a title company or somebody's closing that, right?
Correct.
Um, what do you do next now with the property, right? Like now comes the time. It's almost like a rehab, right? Just like residential. Now you got to do a rehab. I guess that depends on if it's an A, B, or C or whatever type class you're getting into. What goes into that? Like, how do you factor in costs and everything? And what are you doing?
So I have a very specific buy box. I look for value add opportunities, and what I mean by value add is one of the differences between single family and commercial, right? Is that in single family, the value, Al, as you know, is based on comparable sales. Like, what have properties sold for in the area? In commercial real estate, and storage is just an asset class within commercial, the value is not based on comps. The value is based on the income the asset produces. So I look for low-hanging fruit. I look for mom and pop operators that, as an example, haven't raised rates in years. You'd be surprised, brother, how many storage operators I talk to that it's been 3, 4, 5 years since they raised their rates. So that is the equivalent of you owning a rental property that you bought 10 years ago, and today you're still charging the same rent.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the equivalent. So when I buy these facilities, one of the things we instantly go and do is we raise the rates to the average of the market street rates, sometimes slightly below. And we look for opportunities to like implement marketing, implement automation and technology, right? The beauty of storage is that we run what's called an unmanned model. So you might think of a storage facility where you walk in and you go to the office and you talk to somebody to rent the unit. We don't have that. We have offices, but they're closed. So everything happens on the phone, from people renting their unit. They get text the gate code, right? There's a lock waiting for them in their unit. People call the call center, right? And they talk to somebody. So that's what allows time freedom. I'm not the one talking to the customers and trying to find them a unit. Everything is literally done on the phone in this business.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible, right? Just it's basically like dealing with single family and land and being virtual in this business. It's all by phone and being able to get it done. Now, let's just say you've done your rehab, you fixed it up. How are you out doing your outreach to potential people that want to rent it?
Yes.
Are you pushing it through social media? Are you doing a ground game? Are you doing commercials? What's the best way to drive business in now that now you're competing against extra space and public space and all these other people?
Yeah, so there's several things. Number one, search engine optimization. We immediately start working on that. We immediately get a Google My Business page. Google My Business, people underestimate how important that is. We start working on Google reviews. Pay-per-click marketing. We have a vendor that we work with that is an expert with PPC, and we start attacking pay-per-click marketing. And then we do like grassroots thing. Like, we will literally go to the businesses and the vendors in the area, and we will try to partner with them. Sometimes we offer a discounted rate to the owner of that business for a unit if we can market and advertise for their business. So it's some grassroots, but again, the majority of our customers are coming from either pay-per-click or search engine optimization. So online marketing is a big driver for us. If you're in an area where there's a university, that's huge because you can get a big spike when people are coming into school, when people are leaving school. So we'll go, and we've done things like flyers, and we've done different grassroots guerrilla marketing type campaigns. But again, I would say the bulk of it is online.
Alex, have you thought about buying land in a commercial zoned area and then building up your own storage unit?
I haven't, and I'll tell you why. Not that it can't be lucrative if you find land in a market that is underserved when it comes to storage. So that's it, simple economics. That's super important. You want to be in a market that has more demand for storage than there is supply. The worst thing you can do is go buy storage in a market that has 100,000+ square feet, but then they have 2 million people, you know, or vice versa, right? Where there's too many people and not enough supply. That's where you want to be. So in terms of ground up development, you have to understand that to build storage, on average, it's going to take, on the very, very low end, 15 to 18 months if you're lucky, but it typically takes 2.5 to 3 years. So you got to be pretty well capitalized. You're not making any money. You got a construction loan. You got that whole process of building a facility for 2 to 3 years. And then you're starting from 0% occupancy. So it could take you another 6 to 12 months just to raise the occupancy. So you might be not generating revenue for 2 to 4 years. And so I'm not saying it's not lucrative, because I have some friends that have gone down that path. But again, man, I'm not lazy, but I just prefer the low-hanging fruit. You know, I like existing mom and pop operated facilities in markets where I know there's demand for storage.
When you're getting into this, Alex, is it more, I guess it's going to depend on the type of storage unit, but are you thinking from a short term, like a 1 to 5 year perspective? Or are you like, you know, hey, if we get this, we're going to be holding this for 10+ years? Like, what's that?
Yeah, that depends on the facility and that depends on the market. So I'll give you an example. The 2 that I just sold in the last couple of months, that was in a rough market in Mississippi. Like I knew that I wasn't going to be in that particular market long term, but I bought them right. You know, we always hear in real estate, like, you make your money when you buy. That is so true. You just realize it when you sell. So I determined the exit strategy going into those 2 facilities. I'm going to buy them. I'm going to turn them around. I'm going to raise the rates, increase the value, and then I'm going to go ahead and sell it, take that equity and put it into another facility in a better market. Now, if you juxtapose that to the facility I have in Amelia Island, like, that's probably a long-term hold for us, because it's in a great market that is undersupplied. You know, it's got a strong medium household income. It's just a very easy, simple facility to run. That's why I got in this business, not necessarily the burn and churn that I was doing, like in wholesaling and fix and flip.
Yeah. And Amelia, I mean, that's a great
Oh,
area.
man, it's beautiful. It's awesome.
Yeah. And people need storage facilities. People don't have the room to store things in their house, and they're going to need to get with you, right? What do even those agreements look like? Because it's not really like a landlord tenant thing, right?
No,
So like,
no.
how are you structuring that? Like, have you gotten with lawyers to prepare those documents so that
Yeah.
you're good on your end?
Yeah, 100%. We have documents. So obviously it's month to month. One of the cool things about storage is that, you know how in single family, if we have a rental property, somebody doesn't pay, we got to go through like a long drawn out eviction process. Could take 3 to 6 months. You got to spend several $1,000s. In storage, the cool thing is that it's called lien laws, which means that depending on what state the facility's in, Al, within 60 to 70 days on average, provided that we've gone through a process of trying to notify the tenant, all we do is we have a local boots on the ground that takes pictures of the units, and then that gets uploaded to storageauctions.com. We auction off their things. The guy comes in, does a unit clean out, and then we put that unit back online. The most expensive thing in storage is a vacant unit, because of the opportunity cost where we're not generating revenue on that vacant space. So when people don't pay, we have a very specific process that we follow that usually within 60 to 70 days, if they don't pay, we're auctioning off their stuff, making a little bit of money. People always ask me like, you know, have you gotten a car? Have you gotten this and that? It doesn't really work like in the storage wars back in the day. It's all done online now. I don't even see the contents or what stuff is in there. You know, we probably make 10, 15 cents on the dollar of what the stuff is in there. Our goal is not to make money off of selling the stuff. Our goal is to like get that unit make ready, cleaning it out, putting it back online so that we can rent it again.
Incredible process, right? And I love how you make it sound so simple, straightforward. This is what you got to do, and this is the process for it. And it's just like any other asset class, right? Yep. You gotta develop your process. Alex, we're gonna get to big learning lessons, because I'm sure there's the good and then there's the learning lessons.
Yeah,
we're gonna get to that because I'm sure people want to hear it.
Yeah.
What was you got to tell the story about the worst deal you ever had or did with self-storage, because it still sounded like a great deal.
Man, I'll tell you what, the worst deal I ever did is one of the ones I just sold. So let me be vulnerable and transparent with you. So I bought this deal in, I won't mention the city, but a rough part of Mississippi, right? Like think The average medium income is like 24, 25, 26 grand, high crime. Like, so people ask me like, hey, storage sounds so amazing. There has to be something you don't really like about it. Like, what are the challenges? Let me share with you 3 things that I experienced were kind of a pain. Number one, now the first 2 I'm going to share with you can be mitigated by making sure you're in the right market. So what is the golden rule of real estate, right? Like if you ask anyone about real estate, what are they going to say? Location, location, location. I feel like everybody knows that. Well, I violated that very rule on these 2 deals, but I did it because the returns look so amazing on paper. I was buying it at such a low price that I'm like, I have to do this deal despite some of these like orange flags, right? Despite some of the warning flags.
Right.
And sure enough, one of the things that I experienced in this particular market was a lot of break-ins. So because of the high crime, because of the homeless population that was in and around the area, on a probably like monthly basis, sometimes weekly, we would experience break-ins. Now, that's a big hassle and an inconvenience because not only are people damaging our doors and our hasps to like get inside these units, but now we have customers who've had their stuff vandalized, taken. And fortunately, they have what's called tenant protection. So they get protection for a certain value of the contents, but it's still a process for them. And then there's CapEx, like now we have to go repair the doors. And so that was probably the biggest pain point that I experienced with those 2 facilities. The other thing is that sometimes the gate operator will stop working. And when that happens, we have to leave the gate open until a vendor comes out to fix it. Those are probably the 2 biggest pain points that I experienced. But Amelia Island, where I own that facility, I've owned it for over 2 years. Ask me how many break-ins we've had there.
How many?
0.
Nice.
Big goose egg. So you asked me what was the worst deal I did in storage. I bought that particular facility, the one I'm referring to, through private money, 100% private money for 1.2. I was expecting to sell that facility for about 2.3.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up closing September 4th for 1.99. So I still did well with it, but the amount of management headaches that I had to experience with that particular property because of the security issues and the break-ins and just, things happening, that's not why I got into storage. Like I got into storage because I want it simple. I want it easy. I'm not trying to and so even though we did very well on the sale, it brought some stress. I'm not going to lie, dealing with having angry customers because there continue to be break-ins. Dude, it got to the point we were spending between $4,000 and $5,000 a month just on security. So wow. we hired an on-site armed security guard, and then we brought in a remote security monitoring company. So when there would be a break-in, they would come on the loudspeakers and say, hey, we see you, we're calling the cops. And then we were in a WhatsApp group. So like on a weekly basis, I'm getting these messages of break-ins. So probably the biggest pain point that I've dealt with. But again, that can be mitigated by making sure you're in markets where there's not high crime, there's demand for storage, there's not a homeless population, like basic, obvious things like that. But I got allured to the attractive returns on paper. And then I had to pay for it in terms of some stress and some time that I really didn't account for.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about security. Like with Amelia, do you have to have security there?
No, I mean, we have a camera system, but that's it.
Not like a guard or somebody there all the time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
I love it. While we're on this, I see my guy, Alex Ottawa. I see you, Alex. I love it. Thanks for the shout outs, man. While we're on this topic, because it's a great question, he goes, what's your current NRSF and occupancy? Yeah.
So the 2 facilities that I just sold was just under 80,000 net rentable square feet. So we had 79,000 and change, just shy of that. Our occupancy was fluctuating between 60 and 70% at those facilities. And then the Amelia facility is 24,000 square feet, and we're right at about 61, 62% occupancy. So the big thing now that we've experienced in storage is occupancy. Like what people experienced 2-3 years ago during the COVID age, like where everything was booming, occupancy was through the roof, rates continued to climb. Now we're back to the norm. So rate management, marketing, making sure that you have a clean facility, making sure that like customer service, like all the basic things that we should be doing in business anyways, it's more important now than ever, right? Because you're competing with others on occupancy and customers have options. So again, back to my point of I really, really like to be in markets where there's an undersupply of storage, because oftentimes these people, even if you bump the rates, they don't really have too many places to go. Like if I raise the rates, nobody's going to move out of my facility to go pay the same thing or slightly less somewhere else.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. And I didn't know if he was getting to something with portfolio wise.
So between the 3 facilities, if you would have asked me 3 months ago, it was 104,000 square feet across the 3 facilities.
Look at that. Well, there you
Yep.
go. Well, Alex, I know I got to ask you this. Biggest lessons, there's the good,
Yeah.
and then there's the side that people don't know. Any tips and ideas for people out there that are really getting into this, the red flags that people need to be aware of, whether it's on the acquisition end, whether it's on the marketing end, whether it's on making sure you're vetting the right people that are going to rent the space. I think the red flags are going to be important for people to know. What are some more of them besides the ones that you've even mentioned?
Look, I think the big one is making sure that you're in the right market, right? I think one of the red flags, and this might not be obvious to a lot of people, it's a mindset thing. It's the belief that you need hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get in this business. And one thing that I really want to underscore for people watching and listening is that you don't have to wear all the hats and be all parts of the operator to this business. Right. In other words, I just did a post on this today where I think it's super important, Al, where people take stock and inventory of the resources and assets that they have available to them. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about your network. I'm talking about your experience. Figure out what your assets are, and then how can you leverage those assets to contribute and add value to a storage operator, because you can carve out equity and cash flow. You can carve out a piece of, maybe you're watching this and you're like, I'm a really good marketer. I know how to generate leads. Well, that's valuable. You can generate leads for somebody like myself and carve out a piece of these deals. Maybe you're good at raising capital, or you're a good connector. So you don't have to be the guy or girl that says, hey, I'm going to learn this business from A to Z. But maybe you're really, really good at your single family business, or maybe you don't have time. You have a 9 to 5. But you're really, really good at this one thing. Figure out how you can leverage that to carve out some equity for yourself in these deals. So I would say that's a red flag. It's just the mindset where you think you need a lot of money, or you think you need to be all parts to the deal.
Sounds like the other parts of the real estate industry.
Yeah. It's no different. So this framework, this mentality applies. I don't care what asset class we're talking about.
Yeah. There you go. And you've been able to do this while balancing life, family. And one thing that you wrote down is the importance of having a vision for your life, then creating a business that enhances that vision.
So
huge. Important. You gotta expand on that, because everybody just does their business and builds their life around the business. It's like, no, you gotta, your business cannot run your life.
Yeah, man. Dude, if I gave you my phone, you would see date nights with my wife every Friday. You would see daddy-daughter dates. You would see pickleball. You would see things that are important to my life first. Then you're going to see me hopping on here and sharing this time with you, business meetings. I think it's really, really important that people have a clear vision, literally write down what you want your life to look like. But here's the challenge. Most people will do that, if they do that, and they'll filter. They'll say, oh, I'd love to take 6 months off a year to go travel, but I can't do that because of XYZ, because I don't have the money, or because my kids are in school forget that. Pretend like you're a kid writing down your wish list for Christmas. And literally, as cliche and corny as it might sound, write down what you want your life to look like, and then ask yourself, is the business you're in designed, or do you have it structured in a way where it can support and enhance that vision? And if not, there's some tweaks that you should make, because most people, I think, spend time on business trying to pursue and make money. And to me, one of the biggest tragedies is being successful in business and financially, but everything else in your life suffers. Your health, your relationships, to me, that's sad. To me, success is having success in different areas of your life, having a good night's sleep. Not just about being the biggest you can in business or making a bunch of money. Like, money is just a tool. It's important. Don't get me wrong. It's why we do what we do, but it's so that we can do other things, so we can enjoy life. So really be just careful of that. Like, there's going to be seasons of hustle, and I totally get that. But to me, it's not a lifestyle, right? Where like I miss out on my daughter's dance recital, or I don't get to spend quality time with my wife. I don't get to travel and do the things that fill me up. So what I would encourage people to do, figure out what's important to you, get that on the calendar, then figure out how you can structure and design a business around that.
Beautiful. I think that you just said it so well. And that comes from experience too, right? That comes from you having gone through all those things before to get to this point, to be able to share your knowledge on that. And you want to be able to spend time with family and spend time with them and have quality time, right? Yes. And it's not all about the money. It's about the relationships. It's about the time you're able to build with others. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a beautiful way that you explained it. And I think more people should do that, should apply it.
If we have a few minutes, man, I want to share with you a story that hopefully I don't get emotional sharing the story, because dude, it's like, I still get chills thinking about it. My 2017, my first daughter, Ariana, she was 2 years old at the time, and I'm in a playroom with her playing, and it was probably like, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock, and we're playing, and she's like, you know, kind of stumbling around, and like, I remember vividly, Al, she comes to me with a ball, and I had my phone right next to me, and instead of it being face down, or even better, being somewhere else, it was face up, and I kept seeing Podio notifications, boop, Podio, Podio, Podio. And that usually means leads, or the team is working on a deal or something. And I was so messed up in my head at the time. And when you talk about the importance of being present, I was the exact opposite. I intentionally grabbed the ball and threw it across the house so my daughter could go walk over there to get the ball, to give me enough time to check my phone for the Podio leads. And instantly it hit me when she came back and she was trying to like get my attention. And I was like plugged into this. And when she made, like, in her way, I forgot what she said. I'm not going to lie and pretend like, but she was basically like getting my attention. And it took a while for her to get it. And it just hit me, dude. I'm like, I got to make a change. Like, the fact that I would strategically throw the ball across the house just to buy me a minute so I can check my phone, like, that's not success, dude. Like, to me, that there was something broken with me. And it was a reality check that, like, I had to put systems in place. And so from that moment forward, I remember, like, I'd give myself a buffer between the office and the house. And when I would get the house, I'd put the phone away and I would mentally check out, man, so that I could be there with my family. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm always perfect with that. Sometimes it's still a challenge, but I'm very, very aware of it. So.
Yeah. And your business at the time was running your life.
Yeah.
100%. And you flipped it around.
100%.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Alex, I mean, if there's anybody that's been through it, you have, and what a journey, success, and you're just going to continue to do that. And we love this, and this has been great. Everybody's been dropping comments that this has been a great content episode for people to learn from. And some people have wanted to all know about self-storage and how to get into it. And there's people that may not be watching it now, but are going to listen on the other platforms like iTunes and Spotify later. And make sure, if you're listening on the platforms, you got to check out the video, because he was able to show the screen of Boise and just kind of give you an idea of how to find these deals. But just a lot of value, add value tonight. Alex, as I do towards the end of my show, we've done this for season 5. And I have signature questions that I ask the guests at the end. And for you, I definitely think that since you've had the wholesaling, you've done the self-storage, you've definitely had to find the best talent in the game, right? Whether it's the hires, whether it's the team members, whether it's third-party services. How do you go about finding the best talent in the game so you can be successful?
Man, I am glad you asked me that question. It is my belief, and this is an experience share, that the best talent is always going to come from your network or your network's network. I think an underutilized asset, Al, is people's emails list, people's social media. So whenever I look for talent, I look at my network and I share exactly what I'm looking for. I'll give you a perfect example. I truly believe that your first hire, if you don't have a team and you haven't hired anybody, needs to be an executive assistant. My belief is it needs to be a rock star assistant. And by the way, it could be a virtual assistant, but I'm recommending somebody local. Well, my EA, who I love her to death, came from somebody that I was coaching. There's a prime example. Like literally, when I think back throughout the years, Al, my best team members 100% of the time have come from my network or my network's network. So something as simple as just sending out an email with exactly what you're looking for. So just how we would create a buy box or a storage avatar, I do that for team members, right? Like this is the exact kind of person that I'm looking for. It's got to be the right culture fit. They have to have a certain level of competency. They have to have a certain amount of experience, or sometimes no experience in the particular industry. So depending on what you're hiring, I find that it's right under people's noses, and people are oftentimes going to Indeed.com or like some of these other like Upwork or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's been my experience that it's always like 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, listen. I mean, you're telling me the people that I've been able to find for my team have not just been people that I find, it's through a network from another network.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes the best talent that you'll find is not from what you'll find, but what from other people know and they can help find for you. And from tapping into that network, I have the best assistants that have been working with me, and it's just plugging away, right? It's
Yeah.
taking off. It's a machine now.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I get what you're talking about. I relate to that so much just because it's been successful because of tapping into that network and being able to say, I'm not the best one that knows how to find these people.
That's right.
I've tried Indeed, and it's I'm sure it's a great market for it, but for what I need, I need to have somebody that I know from someone else, and it's been amazing.
And here's, by the way, 2 super quick tips I want to share with you. I do my best to never hire somebody who's not currently employed, right? I'll say that again. Whenever I've hired somebody that was unemployed at the time, for whatever reason, it just never worked out. And that was probably more on me than it was on them. But I want to make sure that somebody's gainfully employed, that they're wanted in some way, shape, or form. The other thing I like to do is have my wife be the final interview. And if it's local, possibly through a dinner or lunch. And we don't even talk about the job. We don't talk about business. I just want my wife, who I find women are much better judges of characters usually than men are. I just want my wife to like experience this person, communicate with them, like maybe pick up on something that I didn't pick up. And usually 9 out of 10 times, like if my wife doesn't like that person, probably not going to work out.
Hey, there you go. That's the indicator. That's it right there. Alex, what would you say is one of the most important skills an investor or real estate professional needs to have in this business, especially going into next year?
I would say leadership skills. So there's three different categories that I'm doing my very best to always focus on. Like I'm constantly reading different books, leadership, sales, and marketing. My belief, Al, is that if you focus on becoming the best leader you can possibly be, so consume everything you can by somebody like John Maxwell, who, when you and I were in Tampa, we had the pleasure of watching him speak, and like what a gem that guy is.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So like consume everything John Maxwell puts out, his 100+ books or whatever. So leadership, and then sales and marketing, right? So marketing, Dan Kennedy's of the world, Russell Brunson's, like, it's my belief, if you focus on those skill sets, you will never go broke. You'll never starve, no matter what business or industry you're in.
Yeah, there you go. Right. It's a matter of just continuing education and continuing to learn from the best. Right. And leadership is a huge thing. Like we all learned at Family Mastermind and watching John and Matt on stage, just like it was incredible. Right. Just mind blown by the whole thing. But it's something that a lot of these teams need to start implementing more of. And it's something I take note of. Right. And it trickles down and translates to how your team members start reacting to the business itself, right? You're at the top, and they're going to react to how you react as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, what would you say is a project that you would want to work on more of in your industry? Like what's your ideal next big project that you're really seeking to go after?
I'm thinking a lot these days about what charity do I want to, or nonprofit do I want to partner with, or do I want to start something on my own? One of the things that I think there's a saying, and I forgot who said this, and I don't want to butcher the quote, but to whom much is giving, much is required from, right? And I feel like I've been blessed in so many ways. And I don't say that from a cocky, arrogant perspective, because there's a lot of things I haven't figured out. And I'm constantly like failing and iterating and learning. And so, but I'm coming at it from the perspective that like I feel blessed. And maybe a lot of this is being influenced by the experience I had a couple of weeks ago in the Dominican Republic, where like oftentimes, man, like I do my very best never to complain. And sometimes I fall short, and you find yourself even irritated. You order something at Starbucks and you ask for caramel macchiato, and they give you green tea, and you're like, you kind of get annoyed, right? And it's like, we have so much, brother. Like, and there's so many people, the majority of people don't have what we have, and yet they're filled with love, peace, and gratitude. And oftentimes we're the ones that are like broken inside. And so, man, I just want to I want to spread God's message more. I've been much more quote unquote loud about my faith over the course of the last several years, and not in a preachy way, trying to shove it down people's throats, but man, I truly believe that if people got to know God, their life would change. And so just impacting others, spreading messages, teaching people about entrepreneurship so that they can improve the quality of their life, their family's life. I just have a genuine desire to help people. So I don't know what that big project looks like, but it certainly involves impacting and helping other people, right? And so I think our coaching program is a small start to that, in terms of like teaching people the storage business so that they can have time freedom and help more people. But I feel like I've been put here for something much greater. And I don't know that I have put my finger on exactly what that is, but just having the opportunity to kind of share that with you opens my eyes and perspective to like, how is God going to use me and like to impact his people.
Well, I feel like some of the stories you've been sharing recently, whether it's us on the phone or here on the show, it sounds like you're already on that journey, right?
I feel like I am, man. I feel like I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you're helping others, you're helping inspire others, you're helping explain these hidden niches that people really want to get into, but also at the same time you're going on all these trips, and it's inspiring to see what you're doing, brother. I love it. I love everything about it. Everybody has been saying it's a great episode. Somebody said, I agree, Alex, about the interview and getting the opinion of another person, especially in a non-business context. Also agree with the family around business concept. Been down the other way. It is not the way to live, work, or raise a family. So people are paying attention to what you're saying and sharing your experience. And I know Mike, like the John Maxwell book, shout out. Tracy Porter, thank you for sharing so much knowledge and content. Heavenly Head, I don't know the name, but I if I saw you, I know who you are. She said gathered a lot. And then Alex has been dropping. I mean, people have been dropping comments, and I think it's great that, again, this is why I wanted you on. Like, this is why I wanted you to come on the season finale, because I knew that you would do this and you'd be able to share this content back to people. And I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And for anybody that wants to find you, what's the best way?
Yeah, look, I would say anybody interested in like storage resources. So like the letter I use to get deals, my purchase agreement, some free training, like zero strings attached. We're not asking for anything in return. Text the word storage and then put Al in parentheses so that I know you came from Al's show, to 305-318-6213. So that number that you see right on the screen, text the word storage, Al, and my assistant will send you over a Dropbox link with like a bunch of valuable resources. I've also been hosting a podcast called The Flip Empire Show for a little bit over 8 years. And we're probably going to be going through a rebranding at some point in the future, but it's on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And then lastly, storagewins.com is a great place to connect and just find out how you can get involved in the storage business.
Love it. Love that you have the show, and can't wait to be on that episode with you.
Man, I'm pumped, dude.
That's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, thanks so much for jumping on. And again, it's fantastic to end the season this way with just so much impact. And I've wanted to know about self-storage and how you get into that. As I do with my guests on the Al Nicoletti Show, I do a segment at the end called Final Words, Final Thoughts. Anything that you want to leave the audience with a lasting impression, that last piece of advice that you can really drive home. So as I do, Final Words, Final Thoughts, Alex Pardo.
Yeah, wow, that is such a loaded question. It's a great one too. I'm gonna say it again. Get to know God, right? If you haven't, that's probably the best piece of advice I could ever give you. Secondly, is make sure that you're auditing your ecosystem and the people. Be very thoughtful and intentional about the people you associate with, because it's like jumping in the water. You can't avoid getting wet, and so make sure that you are investing in yourself, putting yourself in the right places, and you can kind of audit this. Make sure that people are telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. That's a quick way to determine if you're in the right ecosystem. And then just continue to work on your mindset. Continue to like be willing to fail. Be willing, like stop worrying so much about what other people might think or how you might look. Like years ago, I used to struggle with that. I almost didn't launch my podcast because I thought, what if I sound stupid, or my accent, or what if I say something incorrect? Screw all that. Like, do you, because as cliche as it sounds out, we have one shot at this. Tomorrow's not promised, man. So just go do it. Like, go for it. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can accomplish if you're willing to put the work in, the time, you believe in yourself, and you surround yourself with the right people.
Couldn't have said it any better. Love it. Great advice out there for people. And you got to be willing to take the shots. You got to be willing to take chances and put yourself out there. And, people hold back. People hold back. And I'm a true believer in being able to move forward, put yourself out there. And I give a lot of credit to Mom for putting me out there. She always said, like, go, still hear it.
I love it. I love it.
She'll brag on me about that when I see her soon. But it's so true, right? Like you definitely gotta put yourself out there for people. Alex, love it. And I can't wait to see you soon. I can't wait to be on the podcast with you. And I really appreciate you jumping on the season finale for my show for season 5, brother. Man. I can't wait to see you soon. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I want to publicly acknowledge you, man. Like, your energy is infectious, man. Like, you are the type of person that I strive to surround myself with, because I just feel like I'm a better version of myself. And we're just building a relationship now, man. So love what you're doing with the show. It's so well produced. And dude, you're just a great host, man. This was a fun and effortless conversation for me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. We had fun. That's right. Right. This is what it's about, having fun.
That's right.
And I appreciate you. It always helps when we get a great guest like you, brother. So thank you, man. I can't wait to see you soon, and keep going with the journey. We're all excited for you.
Awesome.
All right, man. We'll keep in touch.
Take care.
Take care. How'd you all like that one? Season finale for season 5. I mean, look, this is what I'm talking about. Anytime we get a guest, it is a calculated guest that we know is going to provide that value back to you. We want to make sure anybody that comes on is going to give that to you, because we all know we all want to learn things like this. Who doesn't want to learn about getting into self-storage when you see so many people talking about this? This is what it's about. Yeah, Tracy said, what a finale. I mean, the last finale, we had RJ Bates, Steve Trang, Chris Jefferson. That was its own finale. The one before, we had El Senador, Max Jimenez. Each one is so different. And this has been a loaded season, just from top to bottom. Just some of the amazing guests that we've had on all season. If you've missed any of the guests, you definitely got to go back and check them out. And I got to say, every time we have a season finale, it's surreal, right? It's bittersweet. There's always an ending, but it's a great ending. And it's always a new journey into next year, and it's always exciting. And I always got to give out a shout out to my team, Michael Williams behind the camera. We're always setting up. There's always stuff going on over here. We made it work today, and we always have a blast and love. Like I told you, it's always a blast being here on a Wednesday night. We always have a blast together, brother. So thank you always for being here. Grateful for you. And Taylor Nasta, Taylor, I know you're out there or you're listening or later. Thank you for setting things up. I'm so happy we got to do this. And this was the first season with the studio too. Taylor helped set up the studio and get everything together. So I mean, look what an episode this has been. But these episodes wouldn't be what they are without the guests and the content and the people that are watching and dropping in the comments. We love when the supporters are out there, and it means a lot to us. And we always want to know who you're looking for to learn from, right? Whether it's scanning the QR code and finding the past episodes, or any guest suggestions. And hey, if you love the show, drop a review for us. We would always love that too. We want to hear feedback. It's all about feedback in this business. I do that in my business all the time. It's getting that feedback back. And I'm grateful that we get to do this all the time, and we will be back next season. And it's another one in the books. And by the way, we got to give a shout out. Happy birthday, Mike. Early happy birthday. Now that's coming up November 24th. Yes, there we go. Third. Got it. It's all good. I knew it was coming. Everybody, thank you so much for being on. And we'll see you next season for season 6, where we're going to provide the best guest to you out there. Stay tuned. You'll see the promo eventually coming. I love you all. Thank you guys. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.